What's up, everyone? Unless you live under a rock, you know that Star Wars Episode 9, The Rise of Skywalker, hits theaters this weekend, which will bring an end to the Skywalker saga that has spanned 9 films. And love or hate the latest trilogy, the end of the Skywalker saga is a big freaking deal. So that being the case, we had to do at least one Star Wars themed episode, and we decided to take a look at the future of Star Wars and go with the history of a character that isn't currently in canon, nor will he appear in the new movie. But he's a fan favorite and a character most of us hope to see adapted for the big screen. I'm of course talking about Darth Revan, or just Revan, as he's been both a Jedi and a Sith. But before we dive in, we wanted to quickly address what's been going on with YouTube and how it's been affecting creators across the board. And Variant is no exception. Since YouTube announced the implementation of the adjustments the platform is going to be making to deal with the whole COPPA mess, most specifically another rollout of their machine learning systems, like so many other channels, we have seen our average views per episode reduced by more than 60%. And based on our analytics, that massive drop-off over the past month is purely due to the fact that YouTube's algorithm simply isn't recommending our episodes across the platform in the same way, which of course means that most people aren't even seeing the videos after we post them. Needless to say, this is a problem for all creators, and one we have very little control over, but thankfully, there is something you, the Variant Nation, can do to help. If you dig Variant and the content we put out, we would kindly ask that you share our episodes after you watch them, both here on the YouTube platform and whatever social media platform you like most. It's a small thing that can make a huge difference towards helping us work past YouTube's madness. So as always, thanks a ton for your help and support. And with that said, let's take a look at Revan and find out why he's such a beast. Revan was created by Drew Karpyshyn and first appeared in the Star Wars video game Knights of the Old Republic in 2003. His story was later expanded upon in the 2005 sequel game Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic 2, The Sith Lords, and then finally started hitting book form in Star Wars The Old Republic Revan, which became a New York Times bestseller. As far as comic books go, he hasn't made many appearances, but we do see him in the Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic and Star Wars Tales. It's actually shocking that he hasn't gotten his own comic book series yet. He's been the focus of novels and played a major role in games, but somehow, as loved as a character as he is, he's still considered a Legends character and has never had a solo Marvel series. Come on, Marvel, you need to fix that. Your move. In any case, let's get into his origin and see how this character came to be. Now, before I get into talking about Revan, I want to state one more time that he is not in main Star Wars continuity. All of his history and everything I'm about to mention is purely based off of Legends and or the expanded universe. Would I love him to be part of main Star Wars continuity? Yes, but as of now, that is not the case. Maybe once Disney decides to do something with the Old Republic, they will bring him into continuity. At least, I could only hope. With that said, Revan was said to be born just outside the Outer Rim, 3,994 years before the Battle of Yavin. And at an early age, he was taken and trained to become a Jedi, becoming the apprentice to Kreia, who would later be exiled by the Jedi and turned Sith, becoming Darth Traya, but eventually was exiled by the Sith and turned on both orders. But I digress. Kreia soon learned that Revan had crazy control and power of the Force and had quickly learned everything she had to offer. With that said, the Jedi Masters were concerned about her teaching methods. So Revan would go on to study under a bunch of other Jedi, but it was clear Revan was a prodigy, as he quickly mastered everything all of his other masters taught him, and in doing so became the Jedi Order's most prized Padawan. But this concerned the Jedi Council, as he was a little too good, and they sensed something a little deeper there. In some ways, it was similar to Anakin Skywalker and the concerns the Jedi Council had with him. Ultimately, however, he achieved the title of Jedi Knight. And around this time, Revan actually went back to his original master to ask for advice on how to leave the Jedi Order, because to say Revan is a complicated dude would be an understatement. And that, my friends, is how Revan became a Jedi Knight. But man, does it get so much more interesting from here. But for that, let's go to story arcs. Shortly after Revan wanted to leave the Jedi Order, the Mandalorian armies led by Mandalore the Ultimate were like, we want to expand our empire to more and more worlds, to the point where they eventually began conquering some of the Outer Rim territories. One of the battles being the Battle of Cathar. When Revan got wind of this, he was like, we need to intervene in this war, and started rallying a bunch of his fellow younger Jedi and named them the Jedi Crusaders to defeat the Mandalorians. But the Jedi Council didn't want any part of this, believing that the Jedi should not intervene in a war for unspecific reasons. Even though I would personally say a civilization conquering world after world is exactly when the Jedi should intervene, but hey, that's just me. Either way, Revan and his Jedi Crusaders went to the planet of Cathar. Once there, they experienced a Force vision that showed them all the horrors committed by the Mandalorians. More pissed off than ever, Revan picked up a fallen Mandalorian mask, put it on, and swore that he would not remove it until the Mandalorians were defeated. I don't know about you, but I love origin stories and or reasons to why characters wear their costumes. And this is a cool little tidbit on how Revan got his mask. Eventually, the Jedi Council's hand was pressured, so Revan's movement was sanctioned, and Revan became the supreme commander and general of the Galactic Republic's military. During the war, Revan would do some questionable things, bending his morals for a win, which brought him closer to the dark side. In the end, with Revan's strategy and command, the Mandalorians were defeated, and Revan defeated Mandalore the Ultimate in single combat. If you know anything about the Mandalorians or are watching The Mandalorian on Disney+, you know they're some of the most feared warriors in the galaxy. Keep in mind, this is in Legends continuity, but this is still extremely impressive that Revan was able to lead a charge to take them down and defeat their leader one-on-one. After this, we would get the Second Sith War. Now, at this point in time, Revan and Malak were considered to be heroes of the galaxy for defeating the Mandalorians. Because if I didn't mention it before, Malak and Revan are a duo, and Malak helped Revan defeat the Mandalorians. But after the Mandalorians' defeat, we learned that before Revan killed Mandalore the Ultimate, he told Revan it wasn't his choice to go to war with the galaxy, and that a Sith came to him with a prophecy. So of course, Revan and Malak searched the galaxy for this Sith, who they eventually found in the hidden capital of Drummond Kaz. His name was Vitiate. Thinking they totally got this, Revan and Malak went to confront Vitiate in his throne room. But unfortunately for them, Vitiate had been expecting them, and he overwhelmed them with his incredible power. So much so he turned them into servants of his will, turning them to the dark side. And henceforth, they would be known as Darth Revan and Darth Malak. After this, Revan and Malak found an ancient factory called the Star Forge, which they used to create an army of warships so they can invade the Galactic Republic on their own terms. And with their fleet of millions, Revan and Malak forced the galaxy into a Jedi civil war. And this is where things get really crazy. Since Revan was familiar with the Jedi and the Galactic Republic's tactics, he knew everything they were going to do, so they lost battle after battle. Revan also set up assassinations of numerous political figures, as well as planting his own men in their place. And on top of all that, he set up a group of deadly Sith assassins that would capture and also corrupt the Jedi to turn them to the dark side. I'm telling you, Revan is insane. But after a while, Darth Malak was like, I got my own plans and ideas. And for where I'm sitting, Revan looks pretty weak and unfit to rule the Sith Empire. I don't know where you have to be sitting to view anything I just said as weak, but hey man, Sith be crazy. Long story short, Revan and Malak would eventually battle one-on-one in a lightsaber duel, where Revan cut off Malak's jaw, forcing him to wear a metal prosthetic one, which is why he looks the way he does. But while Revan was distracted, Malak took advantage of this and fired Revan's ship, nearly killing him. But fortunately for Revan, Bastila Shan, a Jedi survivor, saved him and healed Revan, then brought him back to the Jedi Council for judgment. But Malak, thinking he killed Revan, declared himself champion of the Sith. Once Revan was brought back to the Jedi Council, the Jedi Masters combined their powers and used the Force to erase the memories of Revan's time as a Sith. You see, the Jedi knew that Revan was the only one powerful enough to defeat Darth Malak and the Sith, so they retrained him as a Jedi to use him as a weapon to defeat the Sith. So he was a Jedi turned Sith turned Jedi once again. His arc is so freaking cool, and I'm not even done yet. Needless to say, the Jedi's plan worked, and Revan defeated Malak and destroyed the Star Forge, becoming a hero for the galaxy once again. But I do want to add, in Malak's final words, he regretted what he had done to his former friend. Many years after this, Revan now lived on Coruscant with his now wife Bastila Shan, and the once Dark Lord of the Sith was now a redeemed Jedi Master who was hailed as the Prodigal Knight. But even all these years later, not all of Revan's memories had returned. This led to him getting visions and flashbacks of darkness, so he decided to go search for some answers, which ended in him being captured by the Sith. The Sith Emperor Vitiate would keep him prisoner for years, where he would be mentally tortured. Ultimately, Revan would be freed by the Republic. Fueled with more hate than ever for his captor, Revan made it his mission to kill the Sith Emperor. Unfortunately though, Revan was killed by the Sith Empire's greatest warriors. But get this crap, Revan's will was so strong that in death, his mind fractured and split into two. One side embracing the light and the other the dark side, which was completely and utterly fueled by vengeance. In fact, his will and hatred to kill the Emperor was so strong it allows him to overcome death and resurrect his own body from the dead. Hear me, his will was so strong, he willed himself back to life. I don't even know how that's a thing. Now known as Dark Revan, he vowed that he wouldn't die until he killed the Sith Emperor. The problem was the Sith Emperor had already been killed 3 years prior by a Jedi. But Revan didn't care because since the Emperor's spirit still remained, he planned on resurrecting it so that he can get rid of it once and for all. But both the Sith and Republic were like, yeah, that's a bad idea. We can't risk you bringing him back to life. so they teamed up against Revan, and he was defeated by Darth Maul and the Jedi Grand Master, Satel Shan. Yeah, even the Sith didn't like the Emperor. That's how evil this guy was. But wouldn't you know it, the darn Sith Emperor came back to life anyway. Devastated with his failure, Darth Revan's anger finally subsided, and his physical form agreed to merge once more with his light side, restoring his mind and finally finding peace, becoming one with the Force. His physical body then vanished, only leaving behind his lightsaber and his mask, but not before he warned everyone that the darkest days lied ahead. And just like that, friends, powers and abilities. Now at this point, it should go without saying that Revan is one of the most ridiculously powerful Force wielders ever. He went from a Jedi to a Sith to a Jedi to an in-betweenie to becoming one with the Force. The guy has one of the most complex stories in all of Star Wars, and he hasn't even appeared in a single movie or TV series yet. Regardless, in Star Wars Legends, Revan became the Jedi Order's most powerful champion. In his prime, he was literally unstoppable and a master of several forms of lightsaber combat. So much so, he was said to be the greatest warrior of his age. I mean, the guy gained respect from the Mandalorians and even wiped them out and defeated their leader in single combat. Revan was not only the most powerful Jedi of his era, he was also one of the most powerful Siths, second to only the Emperor, meaning he mastered both the light and dark sides of the Force. Revan also has such insane willpower, at one point he was able to bring himself back from the dead and hold his body together through the power of the Force. He's also an expert tactician and strategist that possesses insane Force abilities and telekinesis, which allows him to form a protective bubble around himself. Oh, and get this, Revan's teachings were later adopted by Darth Bane, who used these dark techniques to reform the Sith into the rule of two, which led to the rise of Darth Sidious. So in Legends, Revan is the root and core of the Sith's rule of two. His gear is insane as well. First, he just looks awesome wearing that Mandalorian mask he found, and he uses a violet and crimson lightsaber and wears a robe that was created by the Starforge and is imbued with dark power. He also possesses Force Storm abilities, something that the powerful Darth Sidious also uses. In a nutshell, he is easily one of the greatest Jedi and Sith to have ever lived, and I would put him in the top 5 for both categories. If you guys want some good reading recommendations, check out Star Wars The Old Republic Revan, Star Wars Darth Bane, Path of Destruction, and Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic comic series. First up for the week of the 18th, we have Scream Curse of Carnage issue 2. I say it all the time, but Scream is one of my favorite symbiotes, and this title is spinning outside of the epic Absolute Carnage event, so definitely check it out. Now we have Batman Last Night on Earth issue 3. This is the finale to Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo's 5+ year Batman saga. I might just put off reading this for a while because, quite frankly, I'm not ready to let go. Next up, we have Star Wars The Rise of Kylo Ren issue 1. This 4-issue miniseries gives us the origin of how Ben Solo became Kylo Ren, and I cannot wait to see how that happened. Finally, we have Batman 85. This is the conclusion to Tom King's 85-issue Batman run, and I must say, I'm extremely curious to see how it ends. And that's gonna bring another episode of Variant to a close, but if you enjoyed today's Star Wars episode, be sure to check out this one right here. And if you like the channel, be sure to subscribe and like the channel. It helps us out. But I'll see you guys next time when I talk about all things comics.